Welcome. Good morning, everyone. We will call this quarterly meeting of the Cannabis Regulatory Agency to order. It is 9:30 a.m. Welcome to Cannabis Regulatory Agency's quarterly meeting. Thank you for those who are able to be here in person, as well as those that are attending virtually via Zoom. We appreciate your attendance and look forward to receiving your comments during today's public comment portion of today's meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is for the agency to receive feedback and hear views of the public regarding CRA's administration. Good morning. Before I begin the director's report, Kelly is going to give a brief summary of how we will conduct the public comment portion of today's meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly.
All right. Good morning. The agency has provided a virtual option via Zoom webinar for members of the public who are unable to attend today's meeting in person. We will be allowing for members of the public to provide testimony in person as well as via Zoom webinar during today's meeting. In order for our staff to accurately transcribe today's public comments, please state your full name when it is your turn to speak. Also, please remember that public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to comment, not to obtain feedback, engage in dialogue, or receive answers from the agency. As a reminder, in order to give everyone an opportunity to speak, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you feel this is not enough time, we encourage you to provide written testimony following today's meeting. You may submit written testimony to CRA-FOIA@michigan.gov. This email address is also provided in today's meeting agenda as well as the public notice announcement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks. I'm just going to take this over here. I appreciate it. Okay. Director's report. I'm going to start off with some things that we've been requested to say publicly and make it very clear. In May of 2023, the CRA made it clear in communication to the marijuana industry stakeholders that our proposed rules would prohibit the conversion of CBD to THC. And we followed through on that promise. Therefore, the proposed rules, which we have now moved on to the next steps and are out of the CRA's hands, of which are under government review, of which I've asked for an expedited review. These new rules prohibit the conversion of a cannabinoid into a different cannabinoid using a chemical reaction. This rule will not only prevent Michigan licensees from converting CBD to THC or any non-intoxicating cannabinoid to an intoxicating cannabinoid, but it will also prevent them from selling or transferring it and will require its disposal. It's important for consumers to know that some marijuana operators in Michigan have taken upon themselves to convert CBD to THC. They have mixed this converted product in with naturally occurring THC to increase the profit margins. There's currently no scientific evidence that we're aware of that this process is safe. However, there's also no scientific evidence that we're aware of that this is harmful or safe. If there were evidence of it being immediately harmful, we would have taken immediate action on this with product recalls. Once the new rules take effect, the CRA will then have the legal authority to violate licensees who engage in this behavior and to issue recalls for this product. In the meantime, the CRA is determined to do our part to protect Michigan's marijuana industry by continuing to investigate and discipline any licensee who tries to bring in illicit marijuana through the back door. In addition to the strengthening of the rules to respond to this rapidly evolving industry, the CRA continues to advocate at the state and federal levels to address loopholes that allow hemp-derived products to flood the market here in Michigan and across the United States. As our recent publicized enforcement actions have proven, we're committed to enforcing the statute, rules, and regulations that make Michigan the best marijuana market in the country. Throughout its history, the CRA has been notified of test results from various third-party testing events, which indicate that products available for sale to consumers may be contaminated or mislabeled for potency. We take all complaints and allegations of this nature seriously and investigate until the matter has been resolved. Investigations take time. We're also open to receiving the public's concerns about testing, and we're currently in the process of evaluating the need to add to our testing panels on a regular basis. As always, we are committed to making deliberate, well-informed decisions that protect consumer safety. I also remind that MCT oil is a required test that begins in a matter of weeks. Legislation updates. The FY25 state budget was signed in July, will take effect in a couple weeks, October 1st. It included all of the CRA's requests, including staff increases, but more importantly, $2 million to absorb the monthly metric user fees paid by licensees. We have a press release coming out any moment that we're working on to talk about that. Starting October 1st, we are paying for the metric fees, and I went ahead of myself in the next paragraph, so I'll read that too. With additional staff, we hope to better provide better customer service to licensees by reducing wait times for inspections, completing the disciplinary process more quickly, as well as ensuring that licensees are compliant with the statutes and rules that give consumers and public faith and integrity in the regulated market. Beginning in October, the state will begin paying the metric fees that are currently paid for by licensees from revenue generated from licensing fees. The industry made the argument that since the user fees were a necessary cost of regulation, they should be covered by the licensing fees. We agreed, and we're pleased that policymakers agreed as well. Additionally, we're happy to announce that the budget also includes another $1 million for a second year of funding for the Social Equity Grant Program. So we're excited about that. We're nearing the end of the first year of the program, and we're anxious to see the final reports for recipients and how the money was used, and that will be available on our website. In fact, you can go to our website now, you can already see some of them that have been reported. Since our last quarterly meeting, lawmakers have introduced legislation that would combine the adult use and medical marijuana statutes and markets. As the medical share of the overall market has declined and as more operators have moved entirely to adult use or to both adult use and medical, conversations have taken place of an off and on about whether the industry should move in this direction. These bills are the most developed effort we've seen so far. CRA has been engaged with lawmakers to develop the bill, and if anyone would like to weigh in, I would encourage you to reach out to your lawmakers as well. I mentioned the rules earlier. Pardon me real quick. CRA has completed the drafting of our rules. They are out of our hands. They've been submitted to the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearing and Rules for review. We appreciate the feedback and input we received from those who submitted suggestions and comments. They did provide us with valuable perspectives on what matters most to licensees and consumers. Next step is to publish those draft rules when they're ready and begin the formal comment period of 30 days. And again, that formal comment period is 30 days. When that comment period happens depends on the review process with the other agencies that are reviewing them right now. Again, some of the proposed changes will include prohibiting the conversion of CBD to THC, not requiring pre-rolls to be tested in final form, change the definition of temporary marijuana events so that a license is only required if the event includes marijuana sales, not merely consumption. Making it clear that multi-packs of edibles in one package with one metric tag are permitted. Eliminating the requirement for retailers to have a separate lobby. You want a lobby? Great. You don't want a lobby? Great. And providing clear guidance on remediation. Remediation will be addressed in some fashion. Market status. As I'm sure everybody's aware, the retail price of adult use flower has fallen again to approximately $80 per ounce. As the supply of product in the market continues to increase, medical prices have remained relatively consistent over the past 3 months, averaging at highs of $90 per ounce. Also, situational awareness, we have issued over 800 brand new medical Class C grows from May to August of this year. Sales in dollars, again, adult use sales, May, June, and July exceeded 840 million, the highest yet over a 3-month period. Medical sales fell again to 1.35 million in July. Medical sales have now decreased month to month for the past 29 months. Overall, marijuana businesses have recorded more than $10 billion in cumulative sales since the first medical sales began in 2018. Licensing division statistics. So this is for the medical facility side. Step 1, step 2 in renewals, we've received 2,267 applications. And that is from October of 23. Applications processed 2,118 by our staff since October of 23. Adult use licensing, 2,817 applications received since October of 23. Applications processed, 2,613. On the hemp and MMP side, the patient caregiver counts are as follows as of September 1st. Active patients, 90,484. Active caregivers, 6,572. Last month, online applications were utilized by 82.3% of eligible patients. For the processor handler licenses on the hemp side, 74 new applications and 135 renewal applications were received during the first 11 months of this fiscal year. As of September 1st of this year, we have 228 active hemp processor handler licenses. For the financial compliance section, the next AFS report due date is September 30th of 2024. Again, the next due date is September 30th of this year. For the last period of June 30th, we received 75 out of 89 reports were on time, 75 out of 89. For the enforcement division, from January of this year through August of 31st of this year, we completed 1,284 investigations. That's 143 investigations a month. With that, we've received 1,895 complaints. So we're getting about 211 complaints a month. Results of the 2024 field survey have come in and have been reviewed. The data indicates that respondents received a high level of customer service from CRA staff in the field. Data also indicates that respondents are concerned about the potential changes in the market in the next 5 years, rescheduling, potential for federal legalization, the influx of hemp and hemp-derived products throughout the United States, including Michigan. The investigation section is currently in the process of backfilling 2 vacant regulation agent positions in Southwest Michigan. Staff members will attend HACCP training offered by Michigan State University in September to better assist our licensees required to follow HACCP principles when manufacturing infused foods and beverages for consumer safety. For the scientific section. Scientific section is actively working on transitioning management duties from internal staff to our new science section manager, Noah Rosenwood. I took over officially on September 2nd of 24. We're excited about that. Noah's a great guy. The analyst team is working on streamlining investigation workflows related to referrals and supplemental reports and continues to work on I2 Analyst Notebook, which is a link analysis program to assist investigations. Our LSS team continues to assist reference laboratory project investigations into complaints received from stakeholders and are focusing on sampling violations. I say again, focusing on sampling violations. For our inspection section, the inspection section managers have been revising and creating procedures where needed. It's part of the inspections procedure project that kicked off in April. Regulation officers have switched to a narrative style form of report writing in June, aimed at providing additional context and detail to inspections for both the benefit of the licensees and to us for better documentation of inspections. On August 22nd, Inspection Manager Kevin Cook and Enforcement Division Director Mandy Cooley held a live presentation that included questions and answers about the upcoming switch to unannounced inspections on October 1st. That session is recorded. If you haven't seen it, please go to our website. It's available. Please watch that. Operations support section. Continuing to use data to monitor licensee compliance through the issuance of notices of non-compliance and referrals for investigations. So far in fiscal year 24, the following actions have been taken. We have published and pushed out 4,774 warning letters pertaining to non-compliance and metric. We've had 65 referrals for investigation based off of data in the metric system. OSS is in the final stage of solidifying FY25 compliance monitoring program. Has been working on the process improvements in conjunction with other sections to improve touch points and tracking work completed in our record management system called Excel. OSS launched a real-time compliance monitoring program with data pulled from the statewide monitoring system. investigated by field staff within a short time frame to rapidly deploy when we find errors in data which require investigation of potential illicit activity. There are currently 626 eligible social equity program participants and 238 active social equity licenses in the state of Michigan. The CRA Social Equity All-Star Program now has 148 companies participating, including 39 gold, 7 silver, and 102 bronze. We highly encourage all licensees to submit their documentation, be recognized for the good work that they're doing on the social equity front. The All-Star Program information is available on our website. I also wanted to give a special recognition to these companies who have recently joined the Social Equity All-Star Program. Gold, Nirvana Center. Silver, Puff. Bronze, Green Farm. Ultra Cannabis. Green Door Exclusive. The Refinery Detroit. Green Genie 3 Incorporated. House of Mary Jane. Zaza Extracts. Light 'em Up Cannabis Company, and Green Genie Incorporated. Our CRA education sessions continue and are available for replay by visiting the video library on our website. Our recent education sessions have included the following presentations: transition to unannounced inspections that we talked about earlier, insurance in the cannabis market with locked-in companies, cannabis-related waste with Eagle, cannabis and air quality also with Eagle, what to expect during an inspection with CRA enforcement. Grants. There are 52 counties participating in the marijuana operation oversight grants. Their final submissions are due September 15th. So that's coming up here pretty soon. The organizations who received the grants through the Veteran Marijuana Research Grant Program are progressing steadily towards their goals. The CRA has published all of the information, including quarterly updates, on our website under the grant section. I encourage you to take a look at that if you're curious about the Veteran Marijuana Research Grant Program. Social Equity Grant Program. For our first year, they had the $1 million. Final reports were due, September 1st. The midterm status reports, amendment forms, final reports, as well as the original applications are all posted on our website. Reference laboratory. I am happy to say this. Those that are here today can see that that space has been entirely cleared out. The project begins any day now, this month. Reference laboratory is actively working on planning the roles and responsibilities of future staff and preparing position descriptions for posting to hire those new positions in the lab. The team has received a good number of instruments and has finalized procurement requirements. Those instruments are being stored in another location in this building so that we saved significant amount of money to order those early as opposed to later. Plans for the build out have been officially approved, and the CRA is working with the build team to start building any day now, right on the other side of this wall. The IT section has completed 7 maintenance tickets in one project while creating procedures and getting ready to move documents into our QMS system. We are taking all of our policies and procedures, this is more of an internal thing, into one housing document like a regular agency that has been operating for a while. In year 7, we're happy to say that we're moving into a more mature status of our policy procedures for our staff. IT is also currently working on the travel project to create travel records in Excella once we have travel agreements in place with the tribes in Michigan. Customer service section is currently monitoring 68 open disciplinary compliance monitoring files. Last paragraph. In the last quarter, the legal section has issued 164 consent orders and stipulations, 269 formal complaints, and 56 warning letters. That's in addition to the 4,000 other warning letters that we've issued with the OSS. In addition, legal has continued to work with the Department Attorney General's office and outside counsel to negotiate travel negotiations with tribal nations, as I mentioned earlier. Thank you for standing by. That is our update from the CRA.
All right, we are now opening the public comment portion of today's meeting. We will let members of the public who are here in person provide their comments, and then we will move on to those who have joined us virtually. Again, please state your full name when it is your turn to speak. For those of you who are joining us virtually, we will be using the raise hand feature to conduct public comments. If you would like to speak, please click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom center of your screen. At the bottom right-hand side, please click the button labeled raise hand. Staff will then unmute and call out the name of the participant when it is their turn to speak. And as a friendly reminder, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you. All right, up first, we have Lindsay Fehan. I missed, but I'm gonna check. Yes, we are on.
Good morning. My name is Lindsay Feehan, and I'm one of the owners at Emerald Transport here in Lansing. I've been here a few times to speak about some concerns related to transport, and I just wanted to touch on those things again. I understand that the rules are maybe out of your hands at this point, but still important to recognize these issues that we're dealing with. There's currently a proposed rule change that would allow receivers up to 72 hours after transport delivers product to accept or reject that order. There are several concerns with this proposed change that come to mind. Once transport is left, we're no longer able to confirm that the order has not been tampered with in any way, that weights remain the same, and that product has been kept in proper holding conditions. This will quickly become a he said, she said issue, with transport being stuck in the middle. There's also the issue of collecting payment at the time of delivery if a receiver is unsure whether they're going to keep the order or not. We continue to hear complaints about licensees not paying their vendors. We cannot change the rules to something that would only further perpetuate this issue. What happens if a licensee does reject an order after transport is left and then it's returned to the originator and they find it to not be complete or in the same condition as when they sent it? What happens if a licensee waits 72 hours to reject an order that was delivered 95 hours after it was originally picked up? It leads me to my next major point of concern, the 96-hour hold limit. There are many issues with the fact that this limit even exists. Timeframes of pickup and delivery should be a standard of service set forth by each individual transporter. It creates healthy competition and pushes us all to provide the best possible service for our clients. Emerald strives to pick up and deliver all orders received within 2 business days of notification of that order. There are obvious exceptions to this, but it's a goal that we've put in place as a company. When we run into situations that may exceed 96 hours, we have to choose whether to turn away business because of the potential of ending up out of compliance or operate at a loss by running an inefficient route to make sure we aren't delivering in the 97th hour. If there absolutely must be a maximum hold time, the recent Labor Day holiday is a prime example of why weekends and holidays should not count towards that limit. Orders picked up on Friday were instantly at risk of being out of compliance, given that the first 72 hours was a weekend and a Monday holiday where most businesses were not accepting orders into their facilities. This was also the end of the month where we see our clients making a big push for sales and fulfillment goals. And keep in mind that at all times that transport is in possession of these orders, the product is still fully trackable in metric. At no point does that tracking disappear or change just because we have reached a certain time limit. Please consider these points as you look to make beneficial changes to this rule set. The last point I'd like to discuss is the need for initial and ongoing compliance training. It often feels like your warnings and violations come out of left field and could have been things that were easily trained from the beginning. The entire industry would benefit from some type of mandatory training provided directly from the CRA upon licensure and renewal. This could be as simple as an extended meeting during inspection with the local reps, or even online modules that licensees are required to complete. You have many experts across all license types that I'm sure would be willing to help with the creation of such a training. Your fines are significantly more justified when you have proof that licensees have been thoroughly and properly trained in all compliance matters. We should not be operating out of fear that we don't interpret some parts of the rule set in the way that they were intended. A training program would round out the Michigan cannabis industry as a national leader in the cannabis business. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, up next we have David Murray.
David Murray, CEO at Redbud. Thank you for your time today. A recent study that just came out showed that nearly 44% of the product that is on the legal shelves is coming from the converted leaders and the illegal market. Now, just recently, there was a news article that came out stating that Michigan was the #1 state in the country in regards to products sold. We sold 24 million units last year versus California's 17 million. Yet California did 5 billion in top line sales compared to our only 3 billion. And everybody talks about how California is this dumping ground for the black market, yet we are continuing to run circles around them and just putting up these ridiculous numbers in a state that has less than 10 million in total population. I don't understand how anybody can look at this and not see what is going on. Now, I recognize and appreciate what Brian Hanna and the CRA is doing, but it is not happening fast enough. And anything less than a product recall is not going to stop these illegal operators. And while they continue to do everything they can, they're going to need the support from the Attorney General. They're going to need the support from the governor. And ultimately, they need the support from us. Anybody that's a retail buyer that's buying at a deep discount has to realize where this material is coming from. And if you are continuing to turn a blind eye and say, which we hear from all of our customers, I can't compete without buying this illegal distillate or this illegal product, you have to realize what you're doing to the public health. I mean, you have got to realize the pesticides and the converted leaders, the isomers, the acids that are left behind on all this product. And yet all of you guys just turn a blind eye. We've created one of the biggest markets in the entire country, yet we are all going to let it fall because we all want to be more competitive. We've created something extremely beautiful, and I ask every single one of you to take an honest look at yourselves in the mirror and do what's right. Do what's good for the industry in the long term. The only people that are winning are the bad actors. And when we all fall, they're the only people that are going to be left in this industry. And it's sad to see because they don't give a shit about the public health. They don't give a shit about the customer at the end of the day. All they care about is lining their pockets, and they're the only ones that are winning this game. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Sherry Vignew. Sherry Vignew.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sherry Vignew. I'm Operations Manager at Prima Clones. We currently hold a Class B adult use license and operate as a nursery selling clean rooted clones. Currently, commercial licensed cultivators can purchase cannabis clones from any licensed operator, unlicensed caregiver, or anywhere nationwide. Currently, this is a portion of Michigan's cannabis that is not tracked. According to the 2021 study conducted by Dark Heart Nursery Research, out of 200,000 tissue tests, 90% of cannabis growing facilities in California were contaminated with HLBD, costing over $4 billion annually in crop loss. To prevent this from happening in Michigan, we need to ensure that only licensed, clean, tested nurseries are selling clean clones to other licensed cultivators. We test all of our genetics quarterly for Hobbs latent, Fusarium, and other diseases. We get calls weekly from facilities looking for tissue culture services to clean up the genetics that they have purchased elsewhere. Operators are not able to afford these services. We can decrease the spread of disease by only allowing nurseries in the state of Michigan to sell to Michigan cultivators, whereby preventing these diseases from ever entering Michigan's market and cultivation facilities. While the previous gray market policies may have been beneficial to cultivators initially, now that Michigan's cannabis market has matured, this current policy no longer supports the greater good of the industry. These policies result in unsafe and unregulated trade practices. I would like to propose a change so that only licensed cultivators can purchase or sell to other licensed cultivators. One step further would be that only nurseries are allowed to bring in new genetics so that they can be properly quarantined, cleaned, tested for pathogens and diseases before ever reaching the production facilities in Michigan. These small changes would benefit Michigan's cannabis industry by providing clean, tested, bug-free genetics within the state, increase tax revenue, increase production values, decrease crop loss, and would provide a safer space for licensed cultivators to sell and/or trade genetics. And metric is already set up for these practices. This is what drives and produces Michigan cannabis. It starts with clean clothes. Please ensure the future of Michigan's cannabis by regulating licensed clean clone sales. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next we have Cass and Coleman.
Do we do both or am I do
Uh,
just one?
Yeah, you are right up next. So if you want to just,
Okay,
I'll just give you 6 minutes on the timer. You just go.
thank you. All right, on behalf of Riley Partners, from Burton, Michigan. The summary of proposed changes to the rules indicates, and this is just a quote, allow licenses to add QR codes to package labels and allow certain labeling requirements and testing results to be accessed via the QR code. The specific information that would be allowed under this rule may be determined in part by public comment. This past August, Metric provided a pop-up dialogue indicating that new labeling was going to become available. When I requested additional information, Metric support provided a bulletin number 87, which indicated that QR codes may now be generated using Metric only in the 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch printed size. This bulletin indicated that this will include quite a bit of, but not all of the information currently required to be on a product label. Our operator would like to know if using these QR codes, we can stop printing all of the extra information on the label and only keep the information that is not currently accessible through the link accessed by the QR code. This would simplify much of the label printing process, reduce the amount of information that needs to fit into ever smaller label spaces, and make testing information more freely available to retail partners and consumers alike. Can some additional information be provided by the agency regarding when these new labels can start being used? Would it also be possible to make sure that everyone is aware of these new rules? Also, how will we tell when the Metric issued QR codes and the QR codes that we have all been using all along with different POS and ERP systems in the last few years? How will we be able to tell the difference between the two? They're both QR codes. Most of them are also 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch printed size. Will the other QR codes still be allowed? How will we address confusion? I did reach out to Dr. Trio and my Metric support team to get more information about these new changes. I also heard that there are licensees currently beta testing this new functionality. When will this functionality be available for everyone else to use equally? And how can people get involved with beta testing activities? Clearly, I would like to be, but that's never been an option for me. Thank you. And then the next one, okay. Cass and Coleman, Cannabis Consumer Advocacy through the Fledge Foundation's Entrepreneurial Journey Program. Director Hannah, you did answer some of these earlier, but I still want to make sure I get them all asked. I'm here today to ask about the vaping products in Michigan licensed cannabis space. In February of this year, it was reported that a third-party post-retail consumer advocacy testing of cannabis products performed by Infinite Cow resulted in over 25% of products that failed for contaminants, including pesticides, MCT oil, and conversion oil byproducts. In the following months, I inquired about how the agency was going to address the contamination of these products and ensure that vaping products are safe for consumers. This summer, the agency issued a bulletin indicating that they are changing the testing requirements for vape products on October 1st to include the testing of MCT oil. What consumers continue to ask me and what I can never answer is what will happen to all the products already in the marketplace that are contaminated with MCT oil? Will the agency place any untested materials on hold pending retesting? If not, will consumers be required to advocate for themselves to look at testing dates on their vape product labels to make sure things do not have MCT oil after October 1st? Beyond that, what about the products which showed pesticide contamination? When a similar incident happened in California, the DCC performed a recall and announced to everyone which brands were impacted so consumers could act accordingly. This hasn't happened here, and when brands were mentioned by Cranes Detroit, the article was later redacted. And given that it is currently estimated that some 40% of products in the Michigan licensed marketplace contain fully synthetic or converted hemp constituents, will the agency be moving toward asking licensed operators to begin labeling products as natural or contains converted materials? That way consumers can make an informed choice without limiting innovation coming out of the hemp and cannabis partnerships that are now happening across the country. Consumers have a right to know what is in their products, and the CRA should be transparent when they are given information that indicates consumers may be at risk of irreparable harm. On a personal side of that, my wife is a medical cannabis user in Michigan, and her main method has been using vape pens for a long time because she consumed probably, I don't know, 700 or 800 milligrams a day. And it's difficult to eat that much candy. And smoking that much weed, well, it just causes a lot of coughing. Vape products used to be safe and they didn't used to cause this issue. Now she can barely consume it all. Only edibles, which is, I mean, I think she gained 12 pounds. She's probably mad that I said that, but like if you can only eat edibles, that's really what you're looking at, okay? And, you know, I tried making my own capsules and whatnot for her. But these products, and it doesn't matter where I get them from, doesn't matter how expensive they are, it doesn't matter what brand it is, the numbers are all over the place. You know, I submit them from testing, and even brands that I would think, man, I just paid $35 for a gram compared to 7 or 4, still are coming back with these things where it doesn't look good. Now, I don't understand why, as a consumer, I can get these tests done and be able to be like, okay, well, I can't buy that product anymore, and even make complaints about it, but they're still everywhere. In every dispensary. You know, I did see that there was a publication that said they thought that we would self-regulate. I'm an operator. I can't, right? If I buy a box of 100 carts for a normal fee from someone I think is good, that comes with a testing certificate, and then I pay another $500 to get that one tag retested. I mean, it's not doable, right? Like it would triple the price of the product. We wouldn't ever sell it. And that's what I would have to do. So I just wonder how, as a consumer who I know this is necessary, right? All I did was stop buying all of them, right? Completely changing my practices. Well, how many consumers aren't paying attention? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next, we have Andrew Simons.
Great. Thanks. Oh, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for everybody for coming out. Thanks to Director Hannah and the CRA for taking the time out to be with us today. I'd like to discuss an important issue regarding the MDARD and CRA joint program for industrial hemp in Michigan. First, I'd like to highlight a concerning trend. Over the past 5 years, the number of hemp growers in Michigan has significantly decreased, and the yearly fee has increased. Additionally, Michigan's licensing fees for hemp growers and processors are notably higher than those in surrounding states. Compounding these issues, the current rules for using hemp in infused products and otherwise are unclear and inconsistent. I collaborate with 4 major universities: Purdue University, the University of Wisconsin at Madison, Illinois State University, and Michigan State University on-farm and university trials of various hemp cultivars. However, our work is hampered by a lack of clear guidance from MDARD and the CRA. We face conflicting information about how harvested materials should be handled, difficulties in accessing information about licensed hemp businesses in Michigan, and an ongoing negative narrative in the press about hemp products. The recent summary of proposed rule changes only mentions hemp twice, and it lacks crucial details on how hemp materials should be transferred to licensed operators. Moreover, MDARD's rules still classify hemp as not being food, which is a significant barrier to market access. Our research is essential for advancing agricultural knowledge about hemp, including its growth patterns and cannabinoid content in Michigan's climate. The universities are now exploring the impact of the cross-pollination between cannabinoid cultivars and traditional seed and fiber cultivars. To support this valuable research, we need a clear path to market and reduced licensing burdens. Without these changes, Michigan's hemp industry is at risk of falling behind as neighboring states adopt more business-friendly practices. I urge you to support hemp farmers by providing more educational resources and removing obstacles to participate in the Michigan marketplace. If we don't act soon, we risk losing our hemp growers and missing out on the economic benefits that this industry can bring. Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Summer Skylar Reggie.
Good morning. My name is Summer Skylar Peggy. Thank you both, Croner and Hannah, for having us today and the CRA for organizing this public meeting today. Today, I will be discussing my personal opinions and perceptions on cannabis consumption and smoking. So with the finalization of the April 2023 CRA proposed regulations, soon to be formally decided, I would like to share just personal opinions on that topic. I believe that individuals should be able to smoke cannabis in places where it is deemed acceptable to smoke tobacco and consume alcohol recreationally. And so in the state of Michigan, given the majority of citizens voted to pass recreational cannabis in 2018, I believe that it is fair and just to formally decriminalize and socially destigmatize cannabis consumption and smoking. If people can have gatherings where they drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes at a residential or even commercial property, as long as the owners are okay with it, I believe that people should be able to smoke and consume cannabis without fear or concern. I also believe that state licensed caregivers and medical card holders should be protected and able to throw gatherings within their communities to celebrate medical cannabis without worry or concern. Given the limited profitability opportunities for the current model of licensed consumption lounges, I believe that it would be beneficial to change the license to make it so that licensed consumption lounges can intake and sell product just like a retailer license. Without being able to sell product, a consumption lounge is essentially a venue where you bring your own bud or edibles or vapes. And so for comparison, when you go to a bar, you don't bring your own alcohol, you buy alcohol there. Therefore, we should be able to buy our cannabis at the cannabis consumption lounge as well. I also believe that access to cannabis consumption lounges is beneficial as it gives people a space that they can safely consume, especially for tourists. When tourists visit Michigan and want to experience legal cannabis, I always wonder where they're supposed to legally consume. So when a tourist visits Michigan and wants to try out our notable ales and beers, where do they go? They go to the bar. And so therefore, we should be able to have more consumption lounges where people can go and safely consume. I also believe that aiding and destigmatization efforts will help in legitimizing the licensed cannabis industry to a wider audience across the state of Michigan, leading to increased industry revenue and subsequently tax revenue generated. This will all go towards the effort of promoting Michigan's free market cannabis industry as a notable player in this emerging industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have Kyle Buchanan.
Representatives of the same company.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you for having us. I'm Jeff Vega. This is Kyle Buchanan. We are the owners of Exotic Nurseries Jackson LLC. We are a clone company specifically, directing our sales to not only licensed growers, but we are one of the only licensed facilities to provide plants to dispensaries as well. That being said, there's no clear path directly to the sales of immature plants, as well as the limitations behind an 8-inch plant being immature is very inhibiting to the business model with the current regulations based on time frame and expired products, which technically a plant never expires, it just grows into maturity. There are a few other states that have nursery related licensing, and they're based more on a square footage and a and not a plant tag related or a height situation. It is the discernment between a mature plant and an immature plant is actually flower based. When the plant has grown to a mature level enough to produce the proper auxins and cytokines to truly produce a THC in the plant, which is what it's what segregates hemp from cannabis, really. So I'll let you pick up from that point.
Yeah. Essentially, our business is hindered by these rules that are set at an 8-inch rule, for instance. The immature plant sales program is governed by 8 inches being what a mature plant or an immature plant is. So the issues that we run into is that a plant over 8 inches is considered a mature plant. When you cut a clone, root a clone, metric tag it, get it to where it needs to be, by the time it gets to that point, it's growing, it's doing its thing. It's getting almost 8 inches while it's in the rooting phase. No matter how small you cut it. Also, another issue that comes in mind with that is that nobody wants to buy the puniest little plant in the world. And if we're trying to sell them before they get over 8 inches, they have to come very, very small, which is
Unappealing to customer base, whether it's
yeah.
a
And
grower itself or somebody who's recreationally growing for themselves.
from somebody who's going to purchase our plant in a dispensary and wants to see something that's presentable, it's a major issue. And then from a commercial grower standpoint that purchases plants, they want something that's a little bit more established. Comparing Michigan law to California law, an immature plant is anything not in flower. We think that that would be a tremendous help, offering a nursery license here in Michigan with similar laws and rules. For the definition of an immature plant, we understand the importance of it for a facility that's growing and producing flower and other products. But for a nursery specifically, we think that it really just slows down the whole process. And seeing that other states are implementing the rules or the definition for an immature plant as anything under or anything that's not in flower. I'm sorry for going over, but yeah, our main issue here is the definition of mature plant. Being that it's set at 8 inches, it really hinders the business from every
start to
side of it.
finish, yeah.
If we could, we would like to work with the CRA to get a nursery license implemented here in Michigan. We think that as the state matures, it's really just hitting a point where other mature states have hit, and that we're seeing this
Demand really is
Yeah.
there. Whether you be a recreational grower or a metric licensed facility, the demand is highly there. You know, starting with clean genetics, being able to put yourself in a forefront competitive position, or just producing a high quality flower at home for your consumption.
And again, sorry for going over, but since we have 2 people up here, I hope that it's okay. We recently went through an investigation with the CRA where our license was flagged for a bunch of different reasons. And all of those reasons ended up being eliminated by the fact that there's no guidance, no rules really for a business like ours to
Yes,
exist.
we blazed such a trail that we came into problems that Metric and the CRA never considered when writing the laws. That's why we're somewhat proposing not only a nursery license, but working directly with the CRA to really smooth out what it would look like for a nursery and a company like ours.
It seems that the entire program is based around the production and sale of consumable products and not really ever thought about the plant sales side of it. As the market here matures and people are looking to save time and money however they can, a company like ours and Prima are also becoming more and more necessary. We do provide a convenience service that helps companies save time and money, and we want to be able to do that efficiently. The current way that the laws are written keeps us from doing that, and simply
there's-
changing that definition would
Yes.
make it 100% smoother. And offering a nursery license for companies like ours seems to be the only route. But we hope to work with the CRA on getting this changed. And we appreciate the opportunity to present this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have Jeff Vega.
That was me.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. Okay. Okay, now we have Matt Emick. Mig.
Hi, my name's Matt Emick. I am a Class C grow, pretty small one here in Lansing. And I've been coming to these meetings since 2017, and I feel like it's just it's kind of, for me, it's been the same thing over and over again, asking for just things that make sense in this industry. And especially a lot of it with licensing. It, I kind of wanted to get up here. I have a lot of angry things I want to say, but it doesn't really help anything to, be angry. It doesn't help anything, but we're not doing anything that makes any sense. Are we a regulatory agency or are we a revenue agency? Because all we're doing when we continue to license and license and license in a market that's oversaturated, it's a deleterious impact on the state, on everything. This gentleman talked about his study with 44% of the stuff on the shelves coming from out of state. I mean, how how do you go home at night and say we're doing a great job? I'm sorry, but it's not a good job. It's dangerous for Michiganders. Why should it be so? It's still, whether you agree with it or not, a Schedule I narcotic that would just continue to license and license, and it's almost like a proud thing. It really shouldn't be. And I know what your numbers say, but I get calls every day. Hey man, $500 for a pound of flour. That's what they're going for. You can barely grow it for that, which means, and this is coming, and you've got now the outdoor growers have auto flower, which means they can get multiple harvests a year, which adds more product and more product and more product, plus product coming from out of state. It's insanity. We've licensed so much that you don't have enough people to keep on top of these people. And we're just doing it with no, I mean, if you're a real estate agent, you have to take a class, but go ahead and just apply and you can get a license to grow a Schedule I narcotic and put it out there in the ether for everybody to be part of with no real, care, anything. I mean, people don't value their licenses because they think they can just go get another one. And it's true. And so how are you going to change? How are we going to have a good industry until people value their license? Like, you guys issue more fines in 1 month than the liquor industry issues in a whole year. And it doesn't make sense. We have to say, what are we doing? And for those of us, we have to fire employees. We have to stop using people that trim. They're all Michiganders that are going to face more and more harder times. And honestly, this is all easy to solve. We had the answers from states like Oregon and other places. And I've said this before, if over years, how do you have the answers and still fail the tests? And I know that you have your hands tied, but for me, as somebody with integrity, I would have to stand up and fight against the governor and the people that make the rules and say, you put me in this position and this needs to be done. We have to stop with just the licensing for just revenue and look at the cause and effect, the data. How can you have all this metric data and still have so much illegal product? Because you're not using the data. But I know my time is done. Thank you very much. Just please address this.
Next, we have Genevieve. Thank you. And you can just, I see you have two.
Cool.
You can just.
It probably won't take me 6 minutes.
That's
Hi, I'm Genevieve Humenick. I'm here representing Lyric Cannabis. We're a Class C cultivation license in Lowell. I had 2 comments today on the proposed rule set. One was on the requirement for specific expiration dates on production batches. And I guess I'm just curious if there will be more elaboration as to how we would come to that expiration date. And would that require us to, recall from stores when we reach that expiration date? Or is that on the stores and to pull that off their shelves? I would love a lot more clarification on that from my end. And then As for the testing of non-infused pre-rolls after production, from our perspective, we're a craft cannabis facility. We do everything in-house. We don't hire, trimmers. And when we do our pre-rolls, we do them on small batch scale from, whole flower that we have. And to me, this just seems like when you require testing after making a pre-roll that's made in-house from, one metric ingredient, it feels prohibitive to then have to spend $500 to test that pre-roll when you've already tested that entire production batch. And so that's my comment on that one. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other comment cards in the audience?
How many do we got?
I do.
Oh.
Alternative when
Yeah.
I'm done. I have my notes.
Okay.
And
No
we're
problem.
gonna take a 5-minute break
Okay.
after this one, because we
Oh,
got
okay.
more online too. So we'll take a break for people to take a break, 5 minutes.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Wydeck and I'm with Lyric Cannabis. And this gentleman, as you all heard, spoke of feelings of the room. So thank you very much for being so bold. Coming from also me personally, the restaurant business and working with the MLCC, their system seems so simple and locked in as far as not only the pricing regulations and tiering their prices based on different levels of alcohol and luxury and, low, middle, and high ends. But also, I think it's incredibly important to protect the grow facilities with a COD, which is also something the MLCC does. You don't get your booze unless you have money for it on the spot. And we have to sit back and swallow our pride. And I feel like putting aside all of the compliance that we do, we're very metric compliant. Jen is amazing as our cultivation director on making sure we do everything right, only to get screwed on the end. And then you're waiting 45 days when you've agreed to 15 days. And what are you going to do? Go take your weed back from the dispensaries? There seems to be a lot of protection for the dispensaries, and also all of the time you have to spend, the thousands of complaints a month you have to deal with. That just seems like such a waste of energy when all we're doing is doing everything right. And we just want protection and we want to pay our bills and we want to be successful. But it's incredibly hard when it's so saturated and when we can't get the money back. And we have really valuable team members that we want to keep on, and we keep adding to the team and helping the economy in that way in a small slice. But when we're not getting support for that, it feels defeating, and it's hard to keep a positive view. And when I have to go to the owners with negative information all the time, when we're doing everything right, we have super sexy luxury soil cannabis. What else do we have to do to be successful and stay in the business? Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take let's take what time is it, 10:30? And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll resume in 5 minutes. All right, back in session. Thank you for a quick break. Turn it over to you, Kelly.
All right, we are going to move on to those who have joined us virtually. Up first, we have Josh. I'm going to unmute you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. My name is Josh Sweeter from Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs. I appreciate everyone today and the comments said so far. I'd like to just start that I used to believe that we worked in the best and the worst state as Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, and I no longer believe that. I think the market has changed dramatically. I applaud the CRA's effort to remove MCT oil from vaporizers as well as concentrates, but that is a small step for what we need for public safety. I would like to bring up a major topic that's been discussed today at the CRA, by the CRA, for safety concerns of conversion oil. So the history of conversion or synthetic conversion for consumption of drugs or products has been regulated in the past by the FDA and pharma. The reason why this regulation even came up is because when getting the public to eat or consume these products made in pharma by the FDA, they want to make sure it's safe. The onus becomes on the producer of the said product to make sure it's safe for the consumption, not the other way around. I would like to remind everyone, Brian, you did say that you can't prove it's unsafe or safe. That is fine, unless we're going to ignore the history of science and safety in this country when we should get rid of the FDA and pharma regulations. That is illogical, and so is this. I am sorry, just because you start from CBD and do synthetic conversion, it is no different than doing synthetic conversion in pharma or FDA regulated environments. So currently, the state of Michigan is the mouse and rat study to make sure this is safe. I'm glad that everyone is fine with that. The results, I would like to bring up 3 basic points, and I am commenting on 3 people from my laboratory, so please extend my time. I would like to bring up 3 basic points of why this is essentially unsafe and commonly followed in pharma. One is the purity of the analyte. You should be checking the purity of the CBD to delta 9 conversion if this is going to be acceptable. 2 is the byproducts. The byproducts are being produced and never found on plants. The byproducts would need safety and efficacy studies ran on them, each and every one of them, before they're allowed if they're found in over 0.1%. They have up to 60 of them in single products. Processing chemicals. This is the 3rd and basic thing by the FDA and pharma. You must test for the appropriate processing chemicals you use and disclose them. None of this is happening. So processing chemicals are in these vaporizers and concentrates. I'm not trying to scare people for these vaporizers and concentrates in general, but the CRA has known about this for some time. In my last study, and I will say mine, because I have done this for quite some time, I am not doing this to fear people, or I'm not doing it for financial gains. I am doing it for public safety. In the last study of 50 samples only, because this study was done for something else, we did conversion as well. 43.8% of them were seen to be converted. Before that, 4 months ago, there was over 200 done, and over 30% were shown to be conversion. And this is from the large brands, small brands, everything in between. So I would like the CRA to take action on these things. I'd like to ask the CRA to publicly announce how this is legal. You have 2 routes of how this is legal. 1, the CRA has approved people to do CBD delta 9 conversion. Please list the people that are approved publicly who can do CBD delta 9 conversion. If none are there, then the CRA must have allowed for metric importing of CBD to delta 9 into their system. If that is allowed, please list the people that are allowed to do that, because there are people saying they are allowed to do these things, and I don't believe the CRA has approved anyone. I would like to urge producers. I would like to urge producers to rid this from the system. The public safety is more important than the saving 20 cents in the long run. I would like to urge retailers to check their shelves. And I know the burden is a financial burden can be a lot. So Josh Sweeter will pay for the testing. If you drop it off at Infinite Chemical Analysis Lab blind or in packaging, I will test and report these back, and I myself will pay the lab. So that is a free testing of your whole shelf if you would like to rid your shelves of conversion testing. I urge the retailers to somehow distinguish the difference between conversion and not converted products. I urge the public to recognize this as an important step. We do not see health problems in a very rapid fashion unless there's very acute health hazards. There's a good chance that this is not acute health hazard, and we're going to be looking back in 10 years and seeing major problems. I would like to bring up a couple more points that were brought up. The licensings, the number of licensing, we call them burner licenses in the past, that are sitting behind people's licenses in case they shut down, has gotten excessive. There is no way to play whack-a-mole if you're just issuing licensing nonstop. You're just going to shut down one license down that's doing illegal operations, and then 50 more are opened up to take that place for that one. I think there needs to be some kind of moratorium or something to a licensing processing, or linking it to people personally, and if there's links between them, they need to be removed from them. I applaud the CRA for actually starting a state laboratory. I really would ask the CRA to look into these major problems, these health concern problems, and not necessarily just the potency, inflation, and things like that. Those are very important things. I will donate any methods that I have validated and SOPs created to the CRA. They can use anything
And I will say that publicly that I have produced to get a starting. I'm not saying to use my method, but if you have something written, already done, you can use that as a starting point. I'd like to thank everyone for their time, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, up next we have Kelly.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Young, and I'm an operator in the retail space. And I have a pretty big concern about the complaints that are being lodged against these hemp products or whatever converted items. For example, the exclusive complaint that is out currently showing 963,185 units being sold for a mere $349,000. What the heck? I mean, those numbers don't even add up. You look at the price of the product that's being sold. This is one of the largest companies in Michigan that not only has retailers, but also has distributes to retailers because they're a processor. And I mean, what is that? 0.01 per unit that they've sold to a retailer like me that they're charging $2 or $3. How does $349,000 add up? The fiduciary responsibility of the CRA is to ensure that the operators are conducting business in an ethical way. That's not ethical. I personally made a complaint against a company that I had to file a lawsuit against. You'll see that on record regarding their tax evasion. And you know what my inspectors told me? Not my problem. You have to call the Department of Treasury. Now we can go through and do an AFS report, which is a huge burden for me. It's something I'm in the process of, but that doesn't even take a look at the profits and what people are being charged as retailers. Furthermore, when I go to order something, I don't get to see the track and trace of everything until it's actually sitting and pending in my metric file. So now I have the only I've only brought in maybe 10 companies into my dispensary over the 3 years that I've been in operation. And 2 of them, Skylabs and Exclusive, have both been cited for bringing in converted oil and selling. Skylabs, I pointed out to my investigator about why the potency was the same for 4 different SKUs. How do I even know that that was Delta 9 from marijuana? I don't. So the accountability needs to go back to looking at these fiduciary, how much they're charging, how much they're saying they're producing, and then what they're actually selling at. If you look at the cost of a pound of flour at $80 a pound today, and you look at how the prices have crashed in over 2,800 medical licenses, when the medical licenses aren't increasing in retail, why the heck would 2,800 new medical grow license be approved by the state? Where is that going? All I can see is more diversion for profits to go into the companies, the corporations that can afford to pay off the lobbyism, to pay off the regulators, to make the rules so it favors them. And then there's no accountability at the end of the day being held for how they handle their fiduciary responsibilities. Meanwhile, the state loses tax revenue. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next, we have Indigo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. My name is Karen Kikelik. I'm co-owner of Indigro. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I'd like to thank the others who spoke previously. I'm here to address an issue that affects not just the industry, but the general public as well. The need for stronger and more immediate enforcement by the Cannabis Regulatory Agency. It is essential that we ensure every licensee is held to the highest standards, both for the protection of consumers and the integrity of our market. First, I want to recognize the important role the CRA plays in maintaining a regulated, safe, and fair cannabis industry. The framework the CRA has established has provided a foundation that protects the general public and ensures consumers can trust the products they're purchasing. However, when enforcement actions lag, especially in cases where the CRA is aware of non-compliance. It raises serious concerns about product safety and public trust. Even if a product passes testing, if it is untraceable or comes from a source that hasn't followed proper regulations, it compromises the integrity of the market and endangers consumers. The traceability of cannabis is as important as its quality, and we cannot accept products that fall outside of the established rules, regardless of their testing results. I understand that due process is important, and every business deserves a fair assessment. However, when the CRA delays acting on known instances of noncompliance in favor of prioritizing an offender's due process, it does a disservice to the rest of the industry. The law-abiding licensees who follow every regulation are left at a disadvantage when they see non-compliant behavior go unpunished. These delays encourage more rule breaking because operators see little consequence for bending the rules. Swift enforcement of the rules is essential. If noncompliance is allowed to persist without immediate action, it becomes more difficult to catch future violations. This not only stifles the CRA's ability to regulate effectively, but also makes it harder to maintain public confidence in the system. I am respectfully asking the CRA to prioritize swift and decisive action when it comes to noncompliance. Acts of noncompliance should be seized upon immediately, and appropriately penalties should be applied. By taking immediate action and imposing fines or other measures, the CRA can deter further violations, protect the public, and support the businesses that are committed to following the rules. In closing, I want to thank the CRA for your hard work and dedication to protecting both the industry and the public. But I urge you to recognize that delayed enforcement compromises the safety and fairness of the market. Please act quickly and firmly in cases of noncompliance to ensure that everyone plays by the same rules, protecting the public, the consumers, and the businesses that are doing things the right way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, up next we have Theo Gantos.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Director Hannah, I wanted to say thank you again. I didn't quite hear the beginning of the comment period. Are there going to be organic production standards in that or not discussed in the comment?
You can always submit written testimony, or if you have any questions, to CRA-Boya@michigan.gov.
All right. Well,
But
okay.
no.
So I have some other comments as well. So I'll start this out by saying I'm looking at this from two different sides as a patient and one of the dinosaur caregivers left on the statistics. I'm still puzzled by the fact that Michigan doesn't have effective enforcement and at the same time some positive incentives as well as disincentives through enforcement and unannounced inspections, etc. It seems like having you don't have to have everybody be treated or at least subject to the same licensing scrutiny based on their history. As someone that you can use that as a potential reward, you can have less time between inspections, less paperwork to have to deal with as you become an A student, as those times when you do those unannounced inspections. And like the other folks had said, to respond to a complaint, you can go and check immediately, especially when now you have the ability to do unannounced inspections. This is helpful to patients, caregivers, everyone, just the general public. So The other issue is we don't have organic production standards. So if we want to have organic cannabis, we have to produce it ourselves because we can't trust the system right now. And there is a parallel because I'm also speaking as the vice president of the North Morris Estates Homeowners Association and residents in the heart of the Green Triangle in Thetford Township. And we support cannabis, interestingly enough, at the same time. Many patients that live here, many people that do buy and consume in their home. So the point I'm trying to make is without organic production standards and them pulling water out of essentially, in our opinion, contaminated wells all around this same aquifer with radium and everything else. So if you don't light up, then you might light up afterward. So we don't use any of this water that's in this aquifer yet. Many growers have been allowed to do that. So this is an issue as well. So the organic production in Michigan is embarrassing. We have such a great growth environment. We have such a I am amazed by the testimony given earlier on some of these issues. And now we're allowing private equity, just like they're doing in the mobile home industry. And if you want to see your future, that's where you're going. You'll have these private equity, genetically engineered super predators are just going to come in, break all the laws that they know you're not going to enforce, and make it a race to the bottom. And then all the good guys are going to get destroyed because they'll just be genetically superseded. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I'd just say, look, you got to get organic production standards. Please join the rest of the world in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Dave representing Redbud Roots.
All right, thank you. First, I wanted to start out by thanking Director Hannah for the clear, concise public comments there on your stance on intoxicating cannabinoids being produced from non-intoxicating cannabinoids. And beyond that, I'll mostly just agree and second many things that other people said. I want to second everything that Dave Murray from Redbud Roots said there. All those are grave concerns. Also, what the consumer advocate said, it feels unsafe to step into a PC to purchase a product now, knowing what I know. And I think that the general public would feel very similar with that information in their hand. And so I will continue to advocate for a product recall as well. I'd like to also second something that Josh Sweeter said. The synthetic cannabinoids they're non-naturally occurring molecules, so they're inherently synthetic. In every other industry, the onus is on the producer of that molecule to prove its safety and efficacy, and not on the state. And I ultimately want this agency to maintain its positive public image in a time when we've got a significant loss of trust in government institutions. And a lack of action here only furthers that thought process. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have William McKenzie.
Yeah, hi. My name is Willie McKenzie. I'm the owner of Heritage Farms, Manistee, vertically integrated operator from Manistee. First off, I'd like to say thank you for hosting this to the CRA and Director Hannah. I know you didn't create a lot of these problems and you've got a big shit pile in your lap. And I know it's a big lift to deal with it. So I'd also like to say thank you to all the operators who showed up today. I've been coming to these meetings for 4 years, and this is the most people we've ever had by a long shot. This is the longest meeting I've ever sat in on, and I'm greatly appreciative. And I think it says something about the state of the industry that the operators are finally showing up and saying something. One of the things that I'd like to touch on is, when I see these emails come out with the operator fines, it feels like a little bit of a slap in the face, because to me, the building is on fire and you're fining people as they run out the door. And we all know, everybody on this call, everybody in the CRA knows who the bad operators are, and they continue to operate with impunity. And I realize that it's low hanging fruit for you guys to go after people for these easy little violations and get your $5,000, $10,000 fine. But I like to echo what somebody said earlier, which is this a revenue generating organization or is this an enforcement organization? And to me, we need enforcement. We need tough enforcement. And I recognize that you guys have been handcuffed by the people above you for quite some time. The governor and the attorney general have taken a very hands-off stance on prosecuting marijuana criminals. Let's be real, these are criminals. These are criminals doing criminal acts. They are putting the people of the state of Michigan at risk. And like so many people have said before, the onus is on people to prove that it is safe, not to prove that it is unsafe, right? That's how this should work. And so those kind of things really make me upset. Michigan has become essentially the trap market, the bodega for the Midwest. We have sales that everybody loves to talk about, but let's be honest, what we're doing really is crushing it on the borders with drug dealers and users coming across from other states, and then the rest of the state is suffering. I mean, I'm selling my flour for $150 a pound, and it is the time of year when the prices should be highest, and we have seen a massive decline. So we still have so much product coming into the market. It's just crazy to me when I hear some of these things. 50,000 converted liters coming in by one operator. I don't understand how there hasn't been a massive recall just on the pure issue of public health. You guys have the data, the public has the data. I would like to see a recall, and I appreciate my time today.
Thank you. Up next, we have Josh. I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi, this is Josh Sweeter from Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs again. I'm talking on behalf of one of my lab members. But I forgot 3 points that I didn't bring up during the last talk. Conversion testing isn't just an Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs thing. This is now done in multiple labs in the state of Michigan and around the country by different labs, university, and government agencies. I work with a lot of them around the country to develop these methods. ASTM is writing policy on this as well. So my ask to the CRA is able to report this in metric. I have an approved method from the CRA, and so do other labs in the state, but we have no ability to report conversion or non-conversion in metric. This is a simple ask and something that should be done. I have spent countless hours and endless amount of money on being able to do this, and I asked to meet me halfway and to be able to somewhere put it into metric. The industry, I wanted to bring up another point. It's kind of a lot of people in this room has talked about. The industry, I want to remind people, the industry that can stand up and regulate themselves for the safety of the public. We don't have to wait for the CRA to pass regulation and rule. We can take it on our own hands as operators and good people around the country to protect the public safety and not disregard it. I've talked too about free conversion testing for retailers on this call. With that being said, for getting rid of the shelves, but I also want to bring up the point that any health advocacy agencies or medical patients, I will gladly do this for as well. And thank you, Casson, for reminding me of that, to take that down to the medical patients themselves. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, up next, we have Joseph G. Joseph, you are unmuted. Okay. I'll mute you, but if you want, you can just raise your hand again and I'll call you. Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on to Randy Buchman. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to everybody today. I heard a lot of different people talk about immediate action and recall action. I know that there's obviously challenges to what qualifies for a recall. Listening to, a lot of people that are very well aware of these different, conversions and contaminants that is in the oil. I'm guessing that none of these products are labeled properly with the ingredients. And if the ingredients are conversion or other contaminants that should be labeled, that would be a mislabeled product. And my understanding is those mislabeled products can and should be recalled immediately. So that doesn't have to do with anything with conversion. That is, you're allowed to have Delta 9 distillate inside of a pen and terpenes. Anything else by mass, we don't need to quantify what it is. It's there. It's not listed on an ingredient. There is a recallable action. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, I don't see any hands raised at this time via Zoom, but we do have another comment card in person. So if Stacy Wachowski, I'm not doing great on the names today. Oh, thank you.
There we go. Hi, so good almost afternoon, everybody. My name is Stacy Wachowski. I have close to a decade in both the legacy and license side of cannabis here in Michigan. I'm on the board of Americans for Safe Access, as well as the founder of CannabisWorkersResource.com. I've worked for 2 MSOs, 1 single state operator, and 1 international cannabis union. I've spoke at the CRA meetings for the past few years now, so it's good to be here in person. Anyway, I'm here today to bring up several issues regarding the cannabis workforce, the lack of ethics and self-policing by the industry's bad actors, and the lack of standards for our operators. There seems to be a lot of numbers about distillate and vape sales, but there are none, 0, for workplace or occupational surveillance in this industry. There is no guidance for operators on basic operations like sanitation in a cultivation facility. So when you have a workforce that is constantly turning over, and some operators whose only vetting process for hiring is what candidate will take the most abuse for the least amount of money, mold and pest issues easily get out of hand. The rush to cut corners has become the standard in an unstandardized industry. It's important to understand that problems in the workplace become problems with the product. The quality of the product and the environment it's grown are not standardized, thus leaving every facility to come up with its own ways of doing things, from deep cleaning to waste disposal. Cannabis workers are increasingly vocal about the lack of standards, workplace hazards, and rampant environmental issues taking place in licensed facilities around the state and the country. Workers are kept in the dark about the realistic hazards that come with working in the industry, resulting in unnecessary illnesses, injuries, and allergies develop in unsuspecting young and otherwise healthy individuals. Something the CRA can do to fix this is create a resource page for workers with education about jobs available in the industry, how they can learn about them, what to expect on the job, and the basic skills required for them. We wouldn't have numbers about sales if we didn't have workers making it happen in the first place. Putting worker issues off is doing nothing but perpetuating bad behavior that is costing operators millions in losses and misdirected funds with no possible ROI. Minnesota has forced all of its operators to adopt qualified standards because 80% of operators were out of compliance. Maybe the CRA should consider the same thing before a major consumer health issue occurs. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, we're gonna move back to those who have joined us virtually. Up next, we have Brandy Zink.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I have some ideas to improve the medical marijuana program. I am Brandy Zink. I am the chair of the Michigan chapter for Americans for Safe Access. Some of the ideas, I'm going to just list them all out. The number of patients in the state has been decreasing every year. And I have some ideas on how to increase the number of patients. I think that a lot of patients are leaving the program because the costs for the card and the renewal fees are too high. So I propose to eliminate or reduce the registration fees for patients who are on food stamps, Medicaid, SSI, et cetera. Make there be no fee for the change forms. Propose to eliminate the renewal for a patient who has a permanent condition. Like I have epilepsy, it's never going to go away. And the renewal fees, I think, are excessive barrier for patients who no longer see the need to have a card because it's too expensive. I'm asking you, CRA, to send a notice to patients to remind them for the renewal. Moving on to the education portion of the grant monies that counties received, I feel that they should be used for education and not propaganda. The CRA should promote the medical cannabis program as a way to increase public health and welfare. More patients in the program save the state healthcare systems because less opiates and other drugs would be prescribed. I'm asking them to promote medical cannabis as an exit drug to the opioid crisis instead of a gateway drug. A lot of these counties are using this money to put up billboards saying that, you know, weed is bad, when they could be using these resources to send good quality information, like the information that we have from Americans for Safe Access. We have a brand new guide for patients called What's in Your Cannabis, a guide to navigating medical cannabis programs. I believe that the CRA needs to have greater transparency and oversight and accountability for the $40 million grant to study PTSD and veterans. We have continually be talking about remediation labels, and I'm hoping to see that in the new rule change. And I support the QR code for certificate of for a COA and any of the other information that wouldn't fit on the labels. I believe that we should have education requirements and incentive for licensees to perhaps like you do with the social equity program and for the veterans program, to designate these companies that have achieved like patient-focused certification like ASA or some other type of certification, so that consumers will be able to know that certain products are produced with a higher standard than what the minimum is required. I want to encourage the CRA that if you're ever going to be discussing legislation that is going to affect medical cannabis, then have a patient as a stakeholder be included in the discussion. I know that there's the merger bill that has been introduced, and I feel that many of the issues that are in this merger bill would not be a problem had patients been included from the very beginning. I want to ask the CRA in your presentations to local municipalities that you should include education that reinforces that municipalities may not create ordinances that violate state law by requiring patient and caregivers to have fees or inspections, etc. And I also want to bring up that the industry has all kinds of wasteful packaging. There ought to be a way that we can be more environmentally responsible and have some kind of recycling program for all the excess doob tubes and all the excess packaging. And finally, I feel very strongly that the MCT products should be recalled. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Robin Schneider.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning.
I'm Robin Schneider. I'm the Executive Director of the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, representing over 400 business members in Michigan. I appreciate the many comments that have been made here today. We've already provided our public comment on the proposed rules, and we weren't planning on commenting again until we have the actual rules in front of us to comment on, but I am commenting today because many of the comments today that we agree with strongly are being directed at the wrong venue. The majority of our members agree that we are playing an endless game of whack-a-mole by continuing to issue licenses while struggling with enforcement on illicit intoxicating hemp products entering our system. The CRA does not have the legal right to pause, stop, or slow down any new licenses. And therefore, as we've already done, it is urgent that everyone who cares about this issue contact their lawmakers. Only the lawmakers can make this change, and tell them until we are able to get meaningful enforcement on this illicit product, we need a pause. Like they've done in so many other states, we can do the same thing, but this agency does not have the legal ability to do it. So we have to take this argument to our lawmakers. I'd like to add, thank you, Director Hannah, for clarifying that you are addressing the conversion oil issue in the new rule set. Every single one of us have to show up and support this new rule when the public hearing takes place. After then, we will also voice our support with the JCAR committee. I'd like to add that if you care about this issue, we've reached out to Debbie Stabenow, Senator Debbie Stabenow's office, and asked her to include a ban of intoxicating hemp products in the federal farm bill. If she hears from 500 business owners in Michigan, we have a much better chance of that ending up in the farm bill. So I would encourage everyone to contact Senator Stabenow and make sure she knows that this issue is important to you. Finally, I'd like to add that Governor Newsom in California just issued emergency rules banning intoxicating hemp products statewide. We have an opportunity here because he just gave us a perfect roadmap to do this. I would encourage everyone to contact our governor, contact our lawmakers, contact the health department, and yes, the CRA, and urge them to follow Governor Newsom's roadmap and act now. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Up next, we have Randy, what was it? Buckman.
Randy Buckman, I founder of Pleasantries, CEO still, been here a long time. One question that it's not on the conversion. It's something that I was actually told. I feel a little bit bad. I've been beaten up on the data guy that puts together your monthly reports and the inventory reports, sales reports, etc. I do track a lot of that data. The one piece of data that I've been really asking for a very long time, that's a huge hole. If you're trying to report inventory in the market, untested, not submitted, or test failed dry biomass at grows and processors is not listed. And that is a very major component of the inventory levels of the state. And we have no visibility to that. I would like to see those or dry biomass at cultivation and processors included in that monthly report, please. I was told that I need to come to a public hearing to make that statement to actually get that. I pushed back and said, well, your job is to do an inventory report and you're literally leaving half of the inventory off of the state inventory report, trying to help you out. So here I am at the public hearing requesting that data please be included in the monthly reports going forward. That will give us a full visibility of inventory in the state. Otherwise, that's a massive gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Joseph G.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Gators. I manage multiple manufacturing facilities. I am here to speak out against conversion products and the illicit products entering the market. I certainly won't take up any more time than is necessary. I do read all of the monthly disciplinary action reports, and I see quite a few fines, but very few suspensions and or recalls. I definitely feel that the CRA needs to increase their deterrent measures to prevent these sorts of products from entering the market. Thank you to the CRA for allowing this open forum for the public to make these comments. Thank you, and I will see you guys at the next one.
Thank you. At this time, I do not see any other hands raised. Oh, nope, we do have another hand. Oceana Gardens? Oceana?
Oceana,
Ocean.
you're right.
I don't know why, you should be calling these out.
All right.
Can you hear me? I don't know if this microphone works. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Great. Hi, I'm John Cam, work at Oceana Gardens in Hesperia. Thanks for your time today. One change we would like to see is to allow batch harvesting. So rather than individually weighing plants, we would like to weigh multiple plants together in one big bin, one big container. So yeah, if you guys could consider that and, you know, think about why it might be good or might be bad, it would save us a lot of time for harvesting. So yeah, that's all I had. Thank you again. I think they do that. I think they have that program in Maine. They allow multiple plants to be harvested. So perhaps we could look to that state and use that as a model. Thanks again.
Thank you. I do not see any other hands raised. Do we have any other comment cards in the audience? Nope.
Last call. You just go.
No.
Nope. Okay.
Don't see anybody.
All right. Thank you all for the comments today. And any and other business property before the agency that occurred today on September 11th. Our next meeting is going to be December 11th, 2024, location here, CRA building, as well as a Zoom option as well. That'll be at 9:30 in the morning, and a Zoom link will be available on our CRA calendar event page, as well as emails that go out on a regular basis. Look forward to.
Sorry, so sorry.
I got my own limit.
Wow. You're.
It's all right. You're good. This meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you all at the next public meeting. Thank you for the comments today.